Well, finally the day has arrived, and Shanna Hendricks has brought this from Tesla Motors. It's the Model S. It's the one everyone's been talking about for some years now, and now we have one with us. This car's been in development, I feel like, for like 3 years at least.
Yeah, a couple of years for sure, and then we just brought it to the streets for the first time in June of this year.
But 3 years seems fast to me, to go from like a blank sheet of paper to the car you have here. That seems fast, right? 3 years is...
Well, I said 3, Shanna said 2, so maybe it's less than 3 years.
No, it's definitely been in the works for a while. We had our Roadster, which was our first car. That was kind of our, proving to the world that we could make an electric car cool, sexy, and something that everybody wanted. And then, but that car we worked with Lotus and the Elise on. So this Model S was the first car that we built from the ground up to be electric.
So this isn't on any platform other than your own.
Our own. And this platform will kind of shape the follow-on cars in our lineup. So we've got Model X coming in 2014, and that will also be built on this platform as well. It'll be a little bit longer wheelbase, but and that'll be our crossover vehicle.
We have a 200, is the base 200 miles? Is that the range of the base?
No, so the base model, which after January 1st is going to retail for about $59,900 before any federal tax rebate, that's going to be EPA rated. We don't have the official rating on that, but we're expecting that to be about 160 miles. And so and that's the 40 kilowatt hour battery, stage 1 or 3, whichever one you want.
No, that'd be 1, and then 2, we get up to like 200.
2, yeah, we just are EPA rated for 208 miles.
Wow, nice.
And that's a 60 kilowatt hour battery. And then this car that we're standing next to is the 85 kilowatt hour battery. It's the top model. It's EPA rated for 265.
And that's a combination of city highway. How do they do that?
Yeah, that's based on a 5-cycle test. EPA always did a 2-cycle, but only recently have they started doing a 5-cycle test, and so they start doing more cycles with air conditioning on, air conditioning off, city highway, that kind of thing.
So and it's a combination of those numbers.
Exactly.
And charging then.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you plug this car into a 110, it's not going to charge any faster than what the Nissan Leaf goes, but so you're going to get about 5 miles per hour of range back plugged into a 110. You plug into a 240 or one of those NEMA 1450 outlets, the same thing that your dryers plug into. You get about 31 miles an hour of range back.
So for each hour, you get about 31.
Exactly.
So you'd want to do that. I mean,
and you want to do that overnight. The idea with this car, though, is that you are, where a lot of people are seeing charging stations pop up at Walgreens and at IKEA and at their mall. These people are driving their cars and going to the mall and charging. The idea with this car is that you don't need to do that. You only really need to charge at night because this car has enough range. Even in your stage 1, that 40 kilowatt hour battery, that's got 100 miles or 160 miles of range on it. So you can do all of your errands. You can go to work, go to dinner, go shopping, come back, and then plug in. So
this is a great looking, low slung. It's dare I say Fisker-esque in the fact that it's a good looking. It's the first good looking electric vehicle. The other ones have looked like electric vehicles, but this thing just looks like a nice 4-door European touring sedan.
And that was our hope with this. This car is one of the most efficient, aerodynamic cars on the road right now. It's got a drag coefficient of 0.24, so it's... Can
you compare that to other vehicles that we may have? Ferrari, Italia, what does that have, man? Come on.
0.26.
What are you here for, you?
Yeah, a Corvette's probably around that range too, probably mid 0.25,
so 2.6. It's basically doing what a Corvette does
it's
with
pretty
4 doors.
Yeah.
With 4 doors.
So did you also find that you had to change the shape of any things like the mirrors because there's no gas engine to cause any white noise? So if the car is quiet, you're just going to hear a lot of wind noise, right?
Right, yeah. They spent a lot of time with this car in the wind tunnels and putting it through some tests. Probably the biggest thing we've done to make this car stand out and be that aerodynamic car are the handles and where they recess.
Right.
And so I've got the key here in my hand, and just by walking close to it, the door handles will pop out.
Beautiful.
And so having those recesses has really contributed.
Stick your hand in there and then walk away. Does it clip his fingers off?
No, it's not a
something else
security
in there and walk away.
mechanism whatsoever.
Wow. I realized when I had this Volt for 2 days, I pull up my driveway. I didn't have an outlet in my driveway, and
Right.
then I got an extension cord. But the extension cord was like 100 feet long, and
Yeah.
it was bleeding off too much juice, and it wouldn't work on the 100-foot cord and all that kind of stuff. So I think we talked about this. I said, if you were going to go with an electric car, buy the car, and the first thing you do is just get an electrician or your father-in-law, a retired electrician or whoever, to put that 240
Yep.
charging, whatever. Just spend a couple grand or a few $100, whatever it is, but do it day one.
Yeah.
Actually, treat it like you treat a nursery before you bring your child home
That's
from
right.
the hospital. You
That's
know what I
right.
mean? Get
Yeah.
that garage station, figure it out ergonomically, sort of figure out where you park.
Yep.
Do you got to bury a little conduit, or you're going to pull it in the garage? But just get it there and do it, and figure out what side it's going to be on, or whatever it is, or what side you drive up. Do it, and then come home and never think about it again. Because then with this car in 240, you charge overnight. You never have to do that. We're going
Right.
to Target, and
Right.
some other guys parked in the charging station.
Right. And Tesla also has what's called a high power wall connector, which is essentially the charging station. It sits on this, either sits on your inside your garage or it sits on the outside of your house, and it will give you 60 miles of range per hour back.
What does this translate into then? Kilowatts per dollar per mile per.
Yeah.
You guys must have and step in so we can get some of your car in the beautiful
Sure.
shot.
Sure.
here, Shanna.
So it's 2 or 3 cents per mile
Uh-huh.
is what you're paying when you're driving Model S. What's that translate into gas consumption? I know it on a broader scale. So if you're driving an average of 15,000 miles a year, on average you're going to spend, depending on what you're paying, on what state, you're paying several $1,000s in
Right.
gas.
Well, let me just
In
translate.
electricity, it's $600 in gas, or
Okay.
in electricity. What we have is we have Model S and then we have Model S Performance. And the only difference in those two is that we change out the inverter a little bit. And so that you've got different Newton meters. You've got 400 and some Newton meters in one, and you've got 600 and some Newton meters in the other. And that's really the biggest difference between the two models.
And so the 0 to 60 is then affected what
That's
way?
right. So 0 to 60 in the Performance model is about 4.4 seconds. It's been a couple of buff books.
Wow.
A couple of buff books have done a little bit faster than that, but that's what we stick to.
So you 4.4
That's
in
right.
a car this size.
Yep.
So just to give you guys some texture and a yardstick here, I mean, like, remember when the first generation BMW M5, well, not the first generation, like when they revised the M5 with the V8 and
The 400 horsepower.
had
V8,
400
yeah.
horsepower, and it's like had a 6-speed or 5-speed or something. Everyone's like, it's a 4-door that does 0 to 60. That thing was probably 5.5.
So it's about 4,600 and change
Wow.
pounds wise. The battery takes up, a
Lot
significant
of
portion
weight.
of that. It's about 1,000
So it's
pounds
just
right
gobs
there.
and gobs
Okay, so
of
but it's
torque.
a
Gobs of weight.
3,600 pound sedan.
46.
Well,
Oh,
46
36
with the battery.
right, and
Right.
then you figure the battery would be half the weight of
An engine.
or twice the weight of an engine. The engine's probably 400 something
400
pounds.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then this will have what this car has that the M5 and that Jag doesn't have is instant torque. So there's absolutely no hesitation off the line, and you have 416 horsepower, just gut against your spine, head back.
So you guys have done a calculation that says how much horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
Good range, a good competitive price, amazing performance. So really, just Tesla is doing what they did 5 years ago or so with the Roadster, which is now we're moving the bar up
Yep.
for everybody. And then the question is can you keep up? Because I was talking to a woman at the club after the show last night, and she said, everyone always comes up to me and asks me either home improvement questions
Or a car question.
rarely relationship. Mostly
Really did
nothing
love life
about-
for a
almost-
decade.
You probably just left it all on stage.
Almost nothing about parenting, but a lot of technical stuff about, what kind of car you like, what do you like? She said, I just put my name in for the Tesla S, and what do you think? And I said, well, from what I hear, it sounds great, but we're going to go see it tomorrow, so I'll give you a full report on CarCast. But she said she got her name in. And I said, well, what does that mean? She said, I'm like number 10,000. And I don't know if they're making like 400 or something. And
Yeah,
she
4
was
years
drunk,
from now.
I think. But when,
So her math might be off. is what you're saying.
I said, what if I said, like, I want this car.
Yeah.
I want to get this car.
Yeah.
How do we do that?
So it's relatively painless, but there is a bit of a wait because Tesla's done really well and demand is not a problem. So we have a list. It's about 13,000 people long right now.
Yep.
She wasn't
She
lying.
was 10,000.
Yeah. And the wait.
She said she signed up at a mall.
That's right. That we let's talk about retail in a minute.
Okay. I
'cause-
thought you were just drunk and bothering her.
Because that's what
10,000
we're
at a mall.
doing.
You idiot.
You went
Turns
to,
out-
10,000
went to
a
Hickory
mall.
Farm. She came home with a car.
And she probably told you it only cost her $5,000 too.
You know what? We never discuss money.
Never, as you shouldn't.
Only the price of my bottle of Mangria, or a book if you want it signed. But oh yeah, let's talk. All
Yeah.
right.
So
So
there's
13,000.
and you're
That's
looking
worldwide. I'm guessing.
worldwide.
Right.
And it's about a 9-month wait, give or take.
Not bad.
Not bad. So our goal is to deliver about 2,500 to 3,000 cars by the end of this year. So that's coming up.
Right.
And then next year we'll be producing about 20,000 cars at least.
Uh-huh.
And so we'll have the factory running at a production rate of about 400 cars a week.
This is an electric car you can drive from here to Vegas, because Vegas is like, what is Vegas? 245, 250, 265 or something? Like it's right. I feel like it's right on the tip.
4.5 hours.
Yeah, I mean, you guys
Yeah.
probably, no, it's like I can do 3.5, 4. Like you probably wouldn't tell everyone, get it and then drive it to Vegas.
We would actually, and
You would?
I'll tell you why.
I like Shannon. She's like,
Go to Vegas.
Bold. I'm gonna put the stake in the ground. The reason we want you to drive from here to Las Vegas is because we have a supercharger in Barstow, which
Oh.
means you can charge your battery full in less than an hour.
full in less than an hour.
Yep.
The supercharger.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you can't get those for the house. Like you guys.
No, those
and
are
that's-
industrial grade DC fast superchargers.
And you envision a network of those scattered,
We
so
do.
that one, and I'm guessing certainly between Northern California and Southern California along the Grapevine.
We've got 6 in California already. So
Is one in Irvine near a comedy club?
No, but you wanna
But
drive-
now that we've talked about it, there should be.
There
You
should
live
be.
in Southern
for
California.
Adam.
You
Yeah.
want to be either drive to
Tejas?
Vegas, and you
Yeah.
want to drive to San Francisco, and maybe the
It's like
occasional
you read our
San.
master plan, Adam.
I-
It's like you read it.
I'm intuitive, and the occasional San Diego run as well.
So we've got one in Barstow that enables the LA to Las Vegas drive, and then we've got a few up along the highway between LA and San Francisco. So we've got one in Tejon Ranch on the other side of the Grapevine there. We've got one at Harris Ranch.
So I imagine also
One in
things are
Gilroy?
going to crop up around these things, like wine tasting
Right.
bars.
Well,
and,
we need
thing
one
is
at
there-
Sears Point. We need one in Laguna Seca Racetrack.
The
We
thing
need
is
one
you're
not
not
because
gonna
there's a
be
few
there
tracks
that
we gotta go
long.
now.
No, I know, but I mean, there's going to be little cottage. Believe me, if anywhere someone stays for an hour, somebody's going to pull up with something to eat or something to drink.
When we choose our locations for these places, we put them where there is stuff to do, where there's
Right.
already an In-N-Out burger, where
Right.
there's a place to
Wow.
have a pit stop.
And then I'm guessing there's some sort of computing device on this car that will show you where the closest supercharging.
We're working on that. Yeah,
Whatever
we've got
is.
the 17-inch touchscreen in there, and eventually it will have an app that will show you where the supercharger network is, because we're planning to put about 100 superchargers in the States and a little bit into Canada by the end of next year. So
Wow.
you'll be able, the idea being you can drive cross country in this car at not that much longer than it would take you to do it in a nice
So
vehicle.
that's the big thing, because I used to tell everybody, they'd go, well, I don't want an electric thing because, what about when I take the kids to the Grand Canyon? And I had to go, how often? When does that happen? And well, not yet.
People go all the time.
We've been talking about it for 30 years.
They're in their third year junior college. We haven't done it yet, but you never know when I might get the urge. And I'm like, all right, well, let's just say that once every 4 years you go on your Grand Canyon run. How about you just rent the Denali for that 3 days? But now I don't even have to tell them to rent the Denali. No. This is it.
This is it. But the other thing that's great about this car is that we have a frunk, which is a front trunk, because most cars have an engine, and even some electric cars, what they've done is they've taken the engine out and put the battery in, but because we put the battery along the floor of the car, we have all this extra storage space up here.
It's almost, it's sort of Ferrari, it's like a larger Ferrari, this is how the Ferrari frunk looks.
There's 2 optional rear-facing seats that you can get.
Wow, this is big.
So, and the seats fold down 60-40 split there.
Wow.
But there's 2 optional rear-facing seats that go there. What happens is the kids sit back there and they put their feet down here in this space.
Oh, man.
And then those seats also fold in completely in here. So if you don't have kids back there, you can hide them away and lots of space.
So they can witness every rear end collision.
That's right. That's right.
Awesome.
While iPhone videotaping it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Sunroof, or what are we calling it? It's got to have a better name than a sunroof.
So we call, funny you mentioned that, because we do have a name. So we call it a panoramic roof or a pano roof.
I knew it.
Because it's so wide. It's one of the largest openings in the industry.
So very, very austere but elegant. Very simple, and it's all really about the screen. It reminds me of the Fisker, just minus $100,000 or 65 grand or whatever it turns out to be.
The floor is completely flat back here,
which is really
there's no
nice.
It's very like
transmission
hot
tunnel,
rod-ish.
right? So it's flat up here too.
Right. Yeah.
Lots of space.
Like my dad's 76 VW Rabbit.
Sunroof, the way to open that, you can slide here or you can just slide anywhere along this picture.
And you can go like, I wanted it 63%, and your wife is like, I'm a 57%er, and you're like, listen, you hag, please, you're an insane person. Anything over 60s. Right. So, I mean, you can literally just go, I want the sunroof to be open 50% or
That's
41%.
Right. That's right. And you also have the ability to control that from the steering wheel now as well.
Wow. Oh, my God. You know, this is going to make me angry, because I would get this car. I would take my kids out. I'd go, look at this. My dad had a VW, the ragtop one, where you had to like undo, no, you had to like pull down, and you had to stop, and like, and then, like where I said, look at this, 60. I'm gonna go right to 80%, and they'd go, yeah, there you go. Let's go play some video games. And I'd go, you shits, you don't appreciate this.
So the other thing that's really cool is that we have full web browsing available.
Look at
this. Well. Definitely not
Great
recommended.
Staging, right?
Not while you're driving.
Welcome. Not while you're driving.
No, that was a good episode, by the way. The Keel Banks Dooley, looking at the CarCast website.
But definitely something that passengers can do.
Yeah. And on a, like, I mean, the size of the screen is the size of a decent sized laptop.
Between the nav and the energy screens, I think those are also my 2 favorites. So we can blow up the Google Maps. So we use Google Maps for our mapping function, and then we use Garmin for our nav system. But again, pinching technology on the screen, we can show traffic, blowing that up to the full 17 inches. But then energy consumption, for if you're geeky at all and have any interest in kind of figuring out what you're doing and how you're driving is affecting your range at all, this is the screen for you, and this will show you, the green is the regen, where you take your foot off the accelerator, energy braking goes back into the battery, exactly. So, and then the large spikes are where you accelerate. And then the other thing I want to point out is that when you sat down in the seat, the car kind of became awake. And that's because there's a weight sensor in the seat, and there's no push button start, there's no key. This is the key here. It's a silhouette of Model S.
Right.
And so you're ready to go, basically.
You just swallow that and you're done.
Take it with a glass of milk.
It goes in the other.
I don't want this key back if that's where you guys are putting it. Yeah.
It's dishwasher safe. This is absolutely stunning and amazing and impressive. And I heard,
Fire it up. We gotta hear it.
yeah, there's all the here's what we're like I said 3 years ago. It's like we're estimating, we're planning on, we're shooting for.
Sure.
Like there's all that pie in the sky. It's going to look great. It's going to great range. It's going to be in a price point, whatever. But you guys actually executed all the stuff you'd been flapping your gums about for the last 3 years. Like you actually
That's
came
proper marketing
in.
talk.
Well, no, but I mean, honestly, it's like when someone goes, how much is that bridge going to, how long and how much? Is
Right.
everything that the bridge, it's going to take 2 years and it's cost $80 million, and then 7 years later.
And $160 million
Right,
later. Yeah.
that's how everything works, right? And I don't think they're lying. I just think that's where they're not being realistic. But this car has come through on just about every promise that was made. I mean, honestly, just to be half a douche, I think we're talking about 300-mile range and we're at 265, but that's about the only promise that wasn't nailed, and even that's a B plus, A minus.
And it'll go 300.
The guy got 400.
The guy got 400. That's just what the EPA is saying. Look,
Oh,
if you're
right.
doing city,
Right.
combination with a climate
Right.
on. But if you needed to, you could drive this car 55 miles an hour for 300 miles. But
All right.
supercharging's free.
Oh, that's
yeah, sweet.
Listen,
Done.
I'd be driving to Baker twice a week. Get the full
just-
supercharge.
and drive back.
Drive it back.
Said
Oh
Mike.
my God, that'd be the most diabolical thing. Is I'm going to buy one of these things. I'm like, sweetie, we're moving to Baker, and she's like, what? And I'm going, listen, you can eat at the Bun Boy. I'll be at the Mad Greek. I'll meet you at the Super Station, Supercharge. All right. So I think I'm going to get this car and drive it around for a few days.
That's true.
And give you my impressions of it. Normally we start the car up, but it's academic. I don't know if it's running now. It doesn't know. We don't know. It doesn't care. This has been really, really enlightening and really impressive. Like, I'm just impressed by this car. And here's what I like about this car is as much as I like the range and the 4.4 acceleration, all that kind of great stuff. I love what it says about this country. I love it when you take smart people and you get out of their way a little bit, and you take entrepreneurs and you go, we can build a better mousetrap, and people will vote with their pocketbooks. And you said, you got 13,000 people have already voted.
Yeah.
They're waiting for this car. And again, I think it's why this country is great. Like, we don't need a bunch of federal this and people telling us that. You make a product, word will get out, people will line up, and it's
Make a good product.
Make a great product, but it's really this whole car, and Elon and everyone involved with the company is a little microcosm of why everyone comes to this country to raise a family and to
Sure.
live. And I'm saying, Democrats, let's not fuck that one up. That's what I'm saying. All right. Shanna, this has been a little slice of heaven.
Cool.
I
My
thank
pleasure.
you. I don't know how you're getting home, but I don't care. I'm keeping the car.
I think you're driving me in this car.
Oh yeah, we gotta go to the airport. Forgot to mention that.
What? Oh, you're going back to San Francisco?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shanna Hendricks, thank you so much for this beautiful tour of the Tesla Model S, and I will be driving it, and then we will gush about it on the next episode. Until next time, this is Adam Carolla for Shanna Hendricks and Matt, the Motorator, DeAndrea, saying keep the air in the spare and the bag in the wheel.